What if the strategies guiding modern warfare, corporate competition, and global power struggles were not invented in the modern age, but written over 2,000 years ago? What if a small, ancient manuscript composed in a time of swords and chariots still silently influences the decisions of generals, CEOs, and political leaders today? In the turbulent history of China, during an era defined by chaos and constant war, a thinker emerged whose ideas would outlive kingdoms, dynasties, and even entire civilizations. His name was Sun Tzu. His work, The Art of War, would go on to become one of the most influential texts ever written, not just about war, but about power itself. And its influence has never truly disappeared. But how can a text written in the ancient world still shape decisions in the modern one? To answer that, we must first return to the world that gave birth to these ideas. To understand Sun Tzu, we must step into the fractured landscape of ancient China during the Spring and Autumn period, a time when the authority of the Zhou dynasty had weakened and regional states began competing for dominance. This was not a world of stable borders or lasting peace. It was a world defined by uncertainty, where alliances shifted rapidly, betrayals were common, and survival depended on more than just military strength. Rulers were constantly searching for ways to outmaneuver their enemies, not only on the battlefield, but in diplomacy, intelligence, and strategy. In such an environment, brute force alone was no longer enough. Armies could be large, but poorly led. States could be wealthy, but strategically vulnerable. Victory required something more refined and understanding of timing, positioning, and human behavior. It was within this relentless atmosphere of conflict and competition that the foundations of strategic thinking began to evolve. War was no longer just an act of violence. It became a discipline of calculation. And from this transformation emerged the ideas that would later be captured in one of history's most enduring texts. Somewhere within this era of instability, Sun Tzu composed The Art of War, a work that would redefine how conflict itself was understood. Unlike traditional military manuals of the time, which focused on weapons, formations, or battlefield tactics, this text approached war from an entirely different perspective. It did not simply teach how to fight, it taught how to think. Structured into 13 chapters, the book explores every dimension of warfare, from the importance of planning and preparation to the influence of terrain, morale, and leadership. But what makes it truly remarkable is not its structure, but its philosophy. At its core, The Art of War argues that the highest form of victory is one achieved without direct conflict. This idea was revolutionary. In a time when war was often seen as a test of strength, Sun Tzu proposed that intelligence, deception, and strategy were far more powerful than force. This was not just a guide for generals. It was a framework for understanding conflict in all its forms, a system that could be applied wherever competition and power existed. At the heart of The Art of War lies a profound shift in perspective. For Sun Tzu, victory was not something that happened on the battlefield. It was determined long before the first strike was ever made. He emphasized the importance of preparation, of understanding both one's own strengths and weaknesses, as well as those of the enemy. Knowledge, in this context, became a weapon more powerful than any sword. Deception played a central role in this philosophy. To mislead an opponent, to create false impressions, to manipulate expectations, these were not acts of dishonor, but essential components of effective strategy. By controlling what the enemy believed, one could control how they acted. This approach transformed conflict into a psychological game. The battlefield was no longer just physical space. It was a realm of perception, where victory could be achieved by influencing the mind rather than overpowering the body. Such ideas elevated strategy from mere tactics to an art form one that required patience, discipline, and deep understanding. One of the most striking aspects of Sun Tzu's philosophy is his emphasis on indirect methods of conflict. Rather than advocating for direct confrontation, he encouraged strategies that weaken the enemy without open battle. This could involve disrupting supply lines, breaking alliances, spreading misinformation, or exploiting internal divisions. The goal was not to destroy the enemy outright, but to render them incapable of effective resistance. Such strategies minimize risk while maximizing impact. They allowed a weaker force to overcome a stronger one by targeting vulnerabilities rather than strengths. In this sense, war became less about physical dominance and more about strategic positioning. The ability to anticipate, adapt, and exploit opportunities became the defining qualities of a successful leader. And it is precisely this emphasis on indirect control that has allowed Sun Tzu's ideas to remain relevant across centuries. Over time, the art of war spread far beyond its origins, influencing military thought across cultures and continents. As warfare evolved, the principles outlined by Sun Tzu remained surprisingly adaptable. While weapons and technologies change, the fundamental nature of conflict, uncertainty, competition, and the need for strategic advantage remain constant. Modern military strategies often reflect these same ideas, prioritizing intelligence, coordination, and precision over sheer force. The emphasis on understanding the enemy, maintaining flexibility, and controlling the environment echoes Sun Tzu's teachings. This enduring relevance highlights a key truth. While the tools of war may evolve, the logic behind them does not. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the art of war is its application beyond the battlefield. In the modern world, its principles are studied in business schools, applied in corporate strategy, and referenced in political decision-making. Leaders use its teachings to navigate competition, manage resources, and anticipate challenges. The idea of gaining advantage through preparation, understanding competitors, and controlling outcomes has proven just as valuable in boardrooms as it was in ancient warfare. This expansion into non-military fields demonstrates the universality of Sun Tzu's insights. His work is not limited to war, it is a guide to navigating any form of conflict or competition. Despite the profound influence of his work, Sun Tzu himself remains an enigmatic figure. Historical records about his life are scarce, and scholars continue to debate the extent to which his story is fact or legend. Some believe he served as a general, applying his strategies in real campaigns. Others suggest that the texts attributed to him may be a compilation of ideas developed over time. Yet, in many ways, the uncertainty surrounding his life only adds to his legacy. It shifts the focus from the individual to the ideas themselves, ideas that have endured precisely because of their adaptability and depth. More than 2,000 years after it was written, the art of war continues to influence how power is understood and exercised across the world. It teaches that true strength lies not in force, but in control. That victory is not defined by destruction, but by the ability to shape outcomes. From ancient battlefields to modern systems of politics, business, and global strategy, the ideas of Sun Tzu remain deeply embedded in the way decisions are made. Because in the end, the greatest battles are not always visible. They are fought in the realm of strategy, perception, and control. And that is why this ancient war book still shapes the world today. But if these strategies are still being used, then the real question is, are we aware of the game being played, or are we already part of it?